Hi everybody, BJJ Eastern Europe here, and we're here with Adem Redzovic, all the way from Chicago. He's currently in Belgrade, Serbia, where he's doing a seminar. And Adem, please, if you can introduce yourself to our readers.
My name is Adem Redzovic, or Adem Redzovic. You know, I'm here in Belgrade. I just came from Sarajevo. I love it here in the Balkans. My family is originally from the Balkans, from Bosnia, and it's been about 8 years since I've been here, and I'm having a fantastic time. You know, I had a great seminar at the International University in Sarajevo. Had an opportunity to train with people from different clubs over there, and we just had day one last night at your academy. It was phenomenal. You know, the level here is really good, and have phenomenal athletes, and the people take the sports serious. So I'm just excited and honored to be here, and thanks for the opportunity.
Okay. Can you tell us a bit more about your academy in the States?
Yeah, me and my family have been doing jiu-jitsu for like 15 years in Chicago, and we have a few schools in the city, as well as we have students who've spread out and started their own school. So we come from, our lineage. We have like a perspective from multiple sides of the Gracie family. So we had the opportunity to train with members of the Gracie family who have a really clear picture of the self-defense perspective, as well as members of the family who have a strong sport tradition. So we've had a great opportunity, and to be blessed with great teachers. So, it's just been phenomenal. We're based in Chicago.
Okay. Can you tell us about what are your you're here on a Europe tour.
Yeah.
So which countries are you going to visit, and so far, like, what are your impressions on the, you talk about the level, but what are your impressions about jiu-jitsu in this region, and where do you see it going? You've been coming here for the last few years, so where do you see it going in the next few years?
Yeah, I think, I just came from Sarajevo. I'm here in Belgrade. I'm going to head out to Germany, and then the Netherlands, and then head back home. Hopefully I'll be back this summer. I've had a couple other seminars that, opportunities in the UK and Salzburg, Vienna, that unfortunately could not take advantage of this time around, but hopefully I'll be back in the summer. And the level is, my impression is, so far from just here in the Balkans, the athletes are good athletes, great athletes, and the people here have a fighting spirit. They fight each other for who can remember when, so they're like natural born fighters.
That's right.
And technically they're really good too. I noticed at the seminar, like, people, they value the techniques. There's like, people are they're technical. But my understanding is also, like, it's still growing. There's the level of black belts that are in the Balkans compared to, like, let's say obviously Brazil or now in the United States. It hasn't spread that far yet, but they have great leaders. You're doing a tremendous job. I met some of the other guys from the other clubs here, and it's the future looks bright. The future looks really bright.
We just need to organize better, with federations and all that. But I think we're headed in the right direction.
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
It's been here for what? In the Balkans, it's been here since like 2000, 2001. So 13, 14 years, let's say. So
yeah.
Okay. What was the next question? Okay, Adam. The very popular topic now in jiu-jitsu is the whole sport jiu-jitsu versus self-defense debate. Obviously, people who started training, let's say a few years ago, many of them they haven't heard too much about the self-defense aspect, which both of us, we started training around the same time. So when we started, BJJ was more linked to MMA, to the UFC. It was a normal transition to go from BJJ eventually to MMA. Sports competition in the States, especially, there weren't that many. So people were training with the goal of one day fighting.
Yeah.
And nowadays we're talking about people who will just be training BJJ as a sport and never will be going into MMA or never even learning self-defense aspect of it.
Yeah.
So what is your opinion on this whole situation?
You know, I think like this is a question I don't remember when we started. You know, like 15 years ago, I don't remember hearing people talk about this. But now this is like a hot topic. If you type that in YouTube, I'm sure you're going to see like, you know, countless people giving their perspectives. So, you know, I think it's an issue that, you know, is generating a lot of, you know, interesting discussions. But with that said, I can say the reason why I started Jiu-Jitsu was because of what I saw Royce Gracie accomplish.
Same here.
You know, I saw a guy who was not physically anything special, but no offense to Royce, but you know, he was not like a raw, you know, steroid athlete guy.
He wasn't a stud.
Yeah, he was like a looked like a poker player. You know, he was able to beat guys who were trying to punch him and kick him, not score points on him. They were trying to finish him, and he was able to beat them. Sometimes not even hitting them. So that and I was convinced that Jiu-Jitsu was like the king of martial arts. Again, there's other good martial arts. Martial arts is beneficial across the board for the most part, but as far as sport, I think if you look at the martial arts that are like efficient, they all have a sport tradition. Like boxers box, wrestlers wrestle, Thai boxers Thai box. You know, you have a lot of martial arts that I think are useless in a real fight. And usually those are the ones who don't have any sport tradition. They're making theories, you know what I mean?
Or like, when you think about like Krav Maga, for example, there's no sport version of Krav Maga, right?
Yeah.
But like you said, like for example, like Japanese Jiu-Jitsu, the sport version became Judo, right? They cleaned it up and became Judo.
Yeah. That's my perspective. You know, I think like, even me and you, if me and you were like just talking about jiu-jitsu all the time, maybe practicing some moves, but we actually never sparred, we will not reach the level where we're at right now. You know what I mean? So
it's put into practice.
Yeah, so that's an element where the martial arts, like if we look at, let's say UFC as like a reference of like what works, you know, you see the people that come from backgrounds where they have these sport traditions. So there's something positive there in the sport tradition. But then you also study some martial arts and they, you know, through the sport tradition, they deviate, you know, like, because the rules change, you know, and the rules dictate the way the game is played, you know what I mean? So I think what we're seeing now in Jiu-Jitsu is it's growing worldwide, and for the most part it's growing from the sport. You have people who are like falling in love with the sport, and a lot of people actually don't know the history of Jiu-Jitsu. They don't know who's Elio Gracie, they don't know who Royce's accomplishments, they don't know those traditions. So the way I look at it is like this: as Jiu-Jitsu is growing, some people choose to practice one branch of the tree. Like you see at some schools, we're just a no-gi school. Or you see some schools say we're just an MMA school. Or some schools we're just a sport gi school. I consider myself a martial artist. You know, I want to learn the art. I consider myself a student. So part of our tradition is like learning how to defend ourselves when someone's trying to punch and kick us. Part of our tradition is sport. Part of our tradition is with the kimono. Some part of our tradition is without the kimono. And obviously we prefer one area over another, but it's different now. It's now you have a lot.
All that is part of Jiu-Jitsu.
It's all Jiu-Jitsu.
All what you mentioned. Yeah.
Yeah, I think like if you consider yourself to be a black belt tomorrow, I think like to be a true student, you should have, just like if I go to the university, I'm gonna graduate in a certain field, but I had to have taken prerequisites of a certain to get to that degree. You know what I mean? So I think in Jiu-Jitsu, I think all of us, and probably you who are watching, you probably train Jiu-Jitsu. I think we are all like a torch bearer. You know what I mean? So these, you know, the generations that came before us, they gave us the torch, we're holding it, and it's up to us to kind of preserve this art. You know, so I think it's kind of a shame a guy who's training 10 years, he doesn't know how to do, you know, how to manage the distance properly. He doesn't have any strategy when someone's trying to punch or kick him, you know. It's more fun to just get on the mats and roll, I understand that, you know, but we have to, at least for the sake of carrying this torch, we have to preserve that, because like we spoke about earlier, when I started training jiu-jitsu, you heard about these challenge matches. You know, you got people coming into your school.
Yeah, Gracie in Action.
Yeah, the Gracie in Action tapes. And I think because the Gracie family and their generation, they fought all those wars for us, we don't really, we're not concerned with someone coming in to challenge us. You see with the growth of the UFC, with all these, that's been done, that's been settled, thanks to them. You know, that's a large reason why you're training is because of them.
That's true.
But that's kind of like a blessing and a curse. You know, it's peaceful now. You don't have to worry about someone coming to, you know, challenge you. But at the same time, we're kind of neglecting that practice. We're more concerned with beating each other. But in the process, we kind of, you know, we might not be prepared for that challenge match. What I would tell the people who are watching this is this, like a real fight has 3 ranges: standing, clinching, ground. And that's all jiu-jitsu. To be good at stand-up doesn't necessarily mean I have to train boxing. Yeah, help you, but it's still jiu-jitsu. Stand-up is still jiu-jitsu. To practice clinching doesn't mean I have to do Greco-Roman. It'll help your clinch, of course, but this is jiu-jitsu. And of course the ground, you know, and it irks me a little bit when I hear people say they call jiu-jitsu a sport, or they call jiu-jitsu ground fighting. Yes, it's part of the package, you know what I mean? We are the best on the ground. We have a great sport tradition, but this is an art. You know what I mean? That's my perspective. This is an art.
What advice would you give somebody? Let's say, I don't know, this guy trains at a jiu-jitsu school, and he wants to. Well, it's a school which is more focused on the sport, and he wants to learn self-defense, but his instructor, you know, is a sports guy also, and he's not really qualified to teach him. Would you recommend he moves and looks for another place? I mean, or you know, just to look at on the other side, if it was the other side around, you know, the guy goes to a more self-defense school, wants to learn a sport, and the guy doesn't want to push students to compete, you know.
Yeah.
What do you think in that situation?
You know, I think it's tough, especially because, like, you see, depending where you are, some people they're stuck. They don't have options, you know. You know, some places you might be, like in San Diego, you have like a school every block, you know. But then you come maybe here in the Balkans, you might not have the same options. So I think people might be limited due to their circumstances. But some of this stuff, you know, you're gonna learn a lot on your own. Of course, your instructor is gonna probably make the biggest impact on your journey, as well as your training partners. But a lot of things I've actually learned on my own. Research. You know, I have a good training partner. If I can show up an hour before or stay half an hour or so after class, go through the motions, drill a little bit, this might be a way to kind of, you know, close that gap a little bit, you know. So I think it's really, it's going to be more, how you say, what's the word I'm looking for? It's going to be more circumstantial, you know. But if you're, you know, if you're into sport and, you know, you want to do it strictly for the sport, it's completely fine. You have a sports school, it's fine, you know. But again, I think we're torchbearers. I think we should all do the prerequisites, preserve the art, and ultimately find somewhere where you're happy training, you know.
That's the most important.
Yeah.
Okay. Adem, thanks a lot for this conversation.
Thank you.
It was great. And yeah, if you have any last words, I want to say.
Thanks for watching. Thank you. Thanks for everything you're doing here in the region. You know, I came across your blog. I don't know how many years ago. I think when you just started, I thought it was awesome. Right away, I said Eastern Europe. That's got to be, you know, where my parents are from, and you know, so I was, you know, actively, you know, reading the material and stuff like that. So you're doing a phenomenal job. We need more people like this to help spread the growth. The one advice I would give to people like, you know, who are training here and everywhere in the world, like, do your best to improve your little community, you know what I mean? So often you'll get some people, for whatever reason, finding reasons to create drama on the mats, you know what I mean? You know, do your part, contribute to the good community on the mats, you know, and maximize the time on the mats for positivity, and try to kind of like minimize the negativity, you know. So thank you, Gile,
Okay.
for everything you're doing here.
All
Thanks
right.
a lot.
All the best. Thank you, guys.